Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So in this one, I wanted to talk about all the information that we have for The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon Season 2, as well as the teaser that Norman Reedus gave for the season here. So before we go any further, obviously make sure to be a subscriber if you want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. Comic-Con is in 17 days from now? 2.5 weeks basically, but the announcement for all the panels and all that should be in 3 days. I'm expecting the panel to be on the Friday, so I think this Friday we should get it. So yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. And the one thing too to look forward to, and this could happen next week, it could happen the week after, but there's going to be new promotional art, right? Like the artwork for Daryl Dixon Season 2 is going to be it's going to be all brand new. It's not going to be the same artwork that we have. If you actually look at the Walking Dead official accounts, it's all still the ones who live. So that's going to change right away as well. We're going to get all of this new stuff here. There's going to be a lot of stuff. Honestly, building up, but especially that last week building up to Comic-Con, starting in literally less than 2 weeks now, there's going to be a lot of stuff that does come out. So yeah, just look forward to that week there. But next week, there could be some new stuff, because usually they'll do it within the first week or two before Comic-Con, where they really build up the hype. But it's different every year, so we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm excited. I've been waiting for a long time for just anything Walking Dead news related to be coming out, so I'm excited for Comic-Con this year. Before we get into what Norman Reedus said, I want to ask a question. So what should I call The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon? At least for Season 2. Should I just call it Daryl Dixon Season 2? Or should I call it The Book of Carol? Because I've been seeing both out there. A lot of people are just referencing it as Season 2 of Daryl Dixon, or I see people saying The Book of Carol. Personally, for me, I do kind of prefer calling it Daryl Dixon Season 2, because if you call it The Book of Carol, it feels like it's a separate show. And I don't really, that's the thing, it's Season 2 of a show, and people might be thinking, oh, is it a new show? And it's no, it's Season 2 of Daryl Dixon, right? So I just prefer to call it Daryl Dixon Season 2, just because really it's for that reason only. But yeah, I would like to know, because just for doing videos and stuff like that as well, what should I call the show? What would you guys prefer me to call the show? So to get into what Norman Reedus said, and again, I talked about that one aspect to it where he talked about playing Daryl Dixon for 6 or 7 more years or something like that, which is that's roughly what I thought it would be anyways, because I kind of figured that, they were going to keep these spinoffs going for quite some time and then eventually do the whole Endgame series and all of that, right? And I figured that wouldn't be in the next couple of years. They're going to want to keep these shows going for at least 5-6 seasons. And I could just, we're already in 2024. So 6-7 years from now is 2030, 31. I could see around 2028, 29, these spinoffs ending, and it's going to build up this really insane story where maybe around that point they begin filming for the Endgame series or whatever, and then that comes out in 2030. I can kind of see it playing out like that. I know that seems so far away, but it's really not that far away. It's going to fly by. So I think that, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But again, I already talked about that. What I really wanted to talk about actually is what he said here regarding the show's second season. And I got this from Deadline, so I'll leave a link down below if you want to check out the article. But talking about the season, he says, "We went to Paris and we didn't want to make an American show and drop it in a European country, not have it reflect anything of the place that we were filming it at. So we wanted the French people to look at it and feel like it was their show too. And it worked. French people love the show. So I'm excited for them to see Season 2. That is the one thing about the show that I will say, is that it feels very authentic. It feels like they are living in a real world and that they're actually in France. And it's actually cool because it feels like it is almost like a French show, right? There's so many aspects to it that it changes the overall tone of The Walking Dead, but not necessarily it doesn't change The Walking Dead and what it means to people. It adds, it adds to it, and it makes it a little different. And it's really cool to see zombies in France and just, what the story is there. And I'm excited for Season 3 and 4 as well, because, they're going to be going to Spain. So just to see how it's going to change in that way as well. But again, these are all just setting differences, and it does make a big difference in how the show feels. But there's still Daryl Dixon is still there. You're going to have Carol there now, and the story still feels like it's a part of the Walking Dead story. So I think that they've done a really good job making this spinoff, because it really could have been, done really badly. I mean, we've seen some spinoffs and how they've handled some of the story and some of the setting and whatnot. So I think they did a really amazing job with this show here. And again, Norman Reedus, the biggest teaser I think that he gave for this season here is he hyped up the finale as being one of the biggest episodes ever of just anything Walking Dead related. And so I think that going into that finale, obviously for a lot of us, we're going to have that set expectation now of is this going to be the biggest finale ever? And I do think that it's going to be much better than the Ones Who Live finale for sure. I'm trying to think of other past finales, for Daryl Dixon Season 1, Episode 6 was good. but I think episode 5 was the better one. A lot of the, built up momentum, just, from the Varian Walker reveal, and just a lot of that, momentum going into the very ending moments of that episode was just incredible. The finale, I think, was a really great resolution to a lot of that and set up season 2, but I just think the stronger episode obviously was 5. So, for this season here, it looks like the stronger episode, at least according to Norman Reedus, is going to be episode 6. And so, to me, I think what that tells me is that it's going to be a lot of action, first of all. Like, I think that's pretty obvious, right? But I think it means a cliffhanger, because if there's a big moment happening and there's all this craziness happening and whatnot, there's not going to be able to be a resolution of any kind, I feel like, unless the episode was like really, really long. So I feel like, to me, and I've talked about this before, but I feel like the nest is going to be completely destroyed and overrun with Varian Walkers. And I wonder if they could do it very similar to how they did it back in, The Walking Dead season 4, when everyone lost the prison, right? Because the governor showed up and basically destroyed everything, right? Like, yes, the governor died and all of that, but I wonder if there's going to be parallels to that where they just lose everything and then everyone's lost and just sort of everywhere, and so they eventually make their way to Spain, but maybe in the finale it's not so obvious, like, yes, we're going to Spain, it's just, where do we go now? Madame Janae won, the Varian Walkers are everywhere, and we're lost everywhere now at this point, right? So I wonder if that's where it's going to end, and if that is where they end things, like, that's honestly incredible. Like, that's going to build up so much hype for season 3, right? And there was a mention somewhere, I don't remember who mentioned it, but there was a mention of a death happening. So I do think that one of the bigger characters for sure is going to be dying in the finale. I just don't know who. I hope it's not Isabel. I really love Isabel as a character. And she's honestly, like, out of all the characters on The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, she can really hold an episode on her own, and she did that in the first season, and everyone said she was like one of the best characters, like even better than like Daryl Dixon, right? Like, I think she's honestly a really incredible character. I hope they keep her around for a while, and I'm so interested in seeing Daryl, Isabel, and Carol all together, because that's 3 main characters right there. Like, yes, there are other main characters technically, but those are 3 characters that are for sure going to be like very, very strong characters that can hold an episode on their own, right? So there is a new character as well that I'm really interested in knowing a lot more about, and that is the character of Ash. He's actually going to be connected with Carol, and I believe is an engineer, and I think is going to be, flying the plane that gets Carol to France. Like, that's the weird thing with Daryl Dixon, and that really shows a lot of, like, there's just not a lot to talk about right now with the show, is, there's not a lot of footage. There's not a lot of, like, teasers or hints at like what the story is at all, because we've gotten some footage. We've seen Daryl obviously trying to like take out Madame Janae and her group there. We saw Carol, run to that like mechanic place or whatever, or the junkyard, but like those were scenes and whatnot, right? There was no real teaser trailer. I know we saw something like a long time ago, but the quality of it wasn't the quality of the show. It was such low quality. Like, there's no hint at all of what the story is going to be here. Like, how does Carol get to France? Like, I know it's going to be via a plane. Like, I'm pretty confident in that. And I think Ash is actually going to be with her and end up in France. I don't know if he's going to be a big part of the season, like maybe, but maybe he dies right away. Like, maybe like in the first episode or second episode, whenever Carol gets there, he dies right away. Or maybe he's a big part of the actual story. I think that would also be kind of cool too, because then you're bringing a character from Carol's story, and bringing it more into like the main story. Because that was one of the criticisms I had actually about The Ones Who Live, was Nat, I felt like, was a really amazing character. He was there with Michonne throughout a lot of her journey to try and find Rick, and as soon as Michonne finds Rick and ends up at the CRM, he's killed off. And I'm just like, wait, what? Like, you could have had him a part of the story here a little bit more, but like, they just, literally everyone that Michonne was with in terms of that group and everything, like, everyone was forgotten about, written off the show, or killed. Like, it was just, I think Nat should have survived. Like, for sure he should have. But yeah, we'll see where things go. I know things are pretty quiet right now, because it is just like, again, I don't know why they're not really releasing a lot of stuff. Like, they are starting to promote it a little bit, but it's nothing to do with like new footage or any of that. It really is just like sharing old scenes with Daryl and Carol and just more hyping up the show in that way, just like really focusing on those 2 characters, which to me is fine. I do think that as soon as the trailer releases in like 2 weeks, then a lot of the, promotion's going to start right away. So it makes sense to just kind of wait until then. But yeah, I'm going to leave it here. I am going to get a bunch of episodes done for The Walking Dead, like episodes 13, 14, 15, and 16. I'm going to go like pretty crazy crazy and upload a bunch of those reviews. I'm probably going to start with episode 13 tomorrow, and then I'll do 14, 15, 16 on each day afterwards. And I'll also have my Q&A as well as like any latest news, because I'm sure there's going to be like little updates here and there, as well as the Comic-Con schedule, right? Like that's probably going to drop in like a couple of days. So I'll do videos breaking down all of that and whatnot. And also I do want to do an Andrew Lincoln video, because there was an update in terms of him filming and whatnot that I do actually want to get into, because it's kind of interesting. It's kind of cool to talk about. So yeah, but I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. Make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this, and I'll see you guys in the next one.